Good morning, Pastor Ed Kropa here from Hope Lutheran Church in Freehold, New Jersey, with Lenten Devotions for Monday, March the 29th, 2021. Again, we're continuing to use the Lenten devotional booklet called Beyond Question by Pastor Eric Burtness, in which he looks at many of the questions that Jesus asked during the course of his ministry, questions that caused his followers and disciples to think about their faith, what it means to follow Jesus. We've been focusing, or Pastor Burtness has been focusing on the story in Luke 24 about the disciples walking along the road to Emmaus on Easter afternoon and evening, where they encounter a man that they don't recognize at first, and they're telling him all about what had happened, how disappointed they were, all the hopes they had for Jesus that were apparently dashed by his death on Good Friday. And he asks about that, and they come to a place to stop for the night, and he sits down with them. They invite him to stay with them and eat, and in the breaking of the bread and the sharing of the cup, they recognize for the first time that it was Jesus himself. So they rush back to Jerusalem, where the disciples are struggling with this news, this possibility that Jesus isn't dead, but is alive. And so we pick up the story in Luke 24, verses 36 to 40. While they were talking about this, Jesus himself stood among them and said to them, "Peace be with you." They were startled and terrified and thought that they were seeing a ghost. And he said to them, "Why are you frightened, and why do doubts arise in your hearts? Look at my hands and my feet. See that it is I myself. Touch me and see, for a ghost does not have flesh and bloods, as you see that I have." And when he had said this, he showed them his hands and his feet. The question, why do doubts arise in your hearts? We're reminded of John's gospel, where there's a focus on the disciple Thomas, the infamous doubting Thomas, who wasn't there that Easter evening and doubted whether this was possible until Jesus appeared again a week later and invited Thomas to touch his hands and his side and to believe, not to doubt. But this whole question of doubt is the focus of today's reading. Came across a story of doubt that I'd like to share. A little boy cried out over and over, "Mom, where are you?" He was walking back and forth in front of the store. People with shopping carts full of milk, bread, fruit, and other household items rattled past the frantic boy as they raced to wait in line for a checkout spot. The boy decided to stop yelling and just look, and so he walked to the front of each aisle and he peered down the long trek to see if his mother and her cart were present. He went to the first aisle and saw nothing but potato chips and an old man in an automatic shopping cart. He went to aisle 2, where there were 3 college kids arguing over who would pay for the stuff in their cart, but no mom. As he walked to the 3rd aisle, he began to wonder what had happened. He had just come from aisle 3. That's where all the fruit snacks were. He was looking at them, and then she was gone. And he looked down the aisle, and she wasn't there either. The little boy got another pain in his stomach. It felt like bees were flying in his stomach, and they were trying to get out. He started to cry a little more. "Mom, where are you?" He questioningly cried out as he looked down aisle 4. Had she left him there at the store all by himself? Had she decided he was too much trouble to feed? All he'd asked for was fruit snacks. Had she left the store to head home and forgot all about him? He felt sad. He felt scared. He felt a little angry. And just as he reached aisle 5, he noticed a man in a blue vest putting cans onto a shelf. And he walked silently up to the man, who obviously worked at the store. Who else would be putting cans on the shelf instead of taking them off? And the little boy walked up to him, and just as he approached, the man looked down. "I think my mom left me at the store or got abducted by aliens or something," the boy said to the can-stacking wizard in aisle 5. The man looked down at the boy with one eyebrow cocked higher than the other. And the little boy started to cry a little. His mom was gone, and he couldn't find her. "Now, what makes you think that?" he asked as he knelt down in the middle of pallets of canned peas. Well, the boy answered, I was looking at fruit snacks, and then she was gone. I asked her if we could get some, and then she was just gone. The man in the blue vest slowly got up from his kneeling position, ever so slowly. The boy heard him grunt a little as he came to his feet. Let's see if we can find her. We won't find her, the little boy said right away. I've looked all over the world, and she's just plain gone. The little boy pointed back the way he came. She's not anywhere. The man in the blue vest took the little boy by the hand and headed towards aisle 6. There were, in fact, 20 aisles in this grocery store warehouse. So what makes you think that your mom left without you? Because I don't see her. Has she ever accidentally left you anywhere before? The man asked. No. Has she ever been abducted by aliens before? The man asked as they passed aisle 7. Not that I know of. So why would you doubt her now? I'm sure she's here and we just have to find her, the man said as he walked up to a small stand at aisle 10. And he talked with a super tall man with a bushy mustache who also had on a blue vest, but he had a large button on it with all kinds of stickers. And the guy also had a radio the size of a dictionary attached to his belt. And after a minute, an announcement came over the store that echoed down the aisles. It sounded crackly and garbled. He thought he heard, boy, lost, 10. Just as the announcement was blasting over the store, his mother appeared with her full cart around the corner of aisle 15. His baby sister was bouncing up and down in the seat of the cart, sucking on a bottle and sporting a different outfit than she had on when they entered the store. Mom, the little boy cried out and sprinted down the 4 aisles to meet his mother. Mom, I thought you left without me, the little boy said as he hugged his mom beside the cart. The man in the blue vest walked up then too. Honey, I asked you to follow me to the bathroom so I could change your sister. His mother looked down and hugged him. I thought you heard me. I looked around after I changed her and I didn't see you. I went to the fruit snack aisle and you weren't there. His mom smiled. I forgot, the boy said. See, the man with the blue vest said, there was no reason to doubt. Here she is, and all is well. Honey, I have never left you anywhere before, have I? His mother asked. No. Well, then I hope that you learned something about me today, his mother said as she looked down at her now non-frantic son. And his mom thanked the man in the blue vest as he began to walk away. And the tall man with the mustache and the huge radio also got some thanks from her. Hey, Mom, the little boy asked then, can we get some fruit snacks? The little boy was frantic, panicking because he couldn't see his mom, began to doubt that she even cared, that she was even there, that she was looking for him. Sometimes we have our doubts, and certainly the disciples had their share of them during Holy Week, culminating with Good Friday. They doubted everything that Jesus had taught them. They had forgotten the fact that he had never given them reason to doubt before. And he had talked about what was going to happen, and not once, not twice, but predicted it all at least 3 times according to the Gospels, and yet still somehow they doubted. And even now, in that upper room on Easter evening, they still had their doubts. They didn't know, couldn't comprehend, couldn't yet believe that this actually was Jesus. Well, we all struggle with our doubts, don't we? And Pastor Burtness addresses that in his devotion for this morning. He quotes first Luke 24, verse 38, where Jesus said to them, "Why are you frightened, and why do you doubt? Why do doubts arise in your hearts?" We all have doubts, says Pastor Burtness. We have doubts about other people. Can we trust that group? What's the hidden agenda here? We have doubts about the future. Will the world ever experience peace? Will we be secure? We have doubts about our decisions. Did we do the right thing? Did we make the right choices? We have doubts about ourselves. Are we qualified to do this? How could God love us? And we have doubts about God. Is the good news about Jesus too good to be true? Where is God when people we love suffer and die? The disciples had doubts too. After Jesus broke bread with the two disciples who had been on the way to Emmaus, they recognized him and were overjoyed. They were so excited that they went back to Jerusalem to tell the 11, the 12 chosen by Jesus minus Judas, what had happened. Everyone was talking when Jesus stood in their midst, and suddenly they were all afraid. And Jesus asked them, "Why are you frightened, and why do doubts arise in your hearts?" And then he showed them the scars from the wounds in his hands and feet, and invited them to touch him so that they could see that it was him standing there and not a ghost. As Luke's gospel ends, Jesus is teaching and blessing this group. Sometimes when we have doubts, he writes, we think our faith isn't good enough. Maybe it's just too frail and weak. We're afraid other people will find out about the doubt that we have buried deep inside ourselves. Maybe the church and faith are not for us. But at these times, remember where Jesus was when the disciples had doubts. Right there with them. Jesus is right here with us too, in the midst of doubt and fear and pain, and in the midst of faith, joy, and praise. He invites us to see and feel the cool baptismal waters, to take the bread and eat it, to drink the wine. He teaches us and blesses us and helps us to grow in faith as we walk with him. Don't underestimate the power of a mustard seed of faith. No matter how weak or frail you think your faith is, it is enough because Jesus is with you. You don't need faith the size of a mountain to move a mustard seed. You need faith the size of a mustard seed to move a mountain. And then he includes this quote. Somebody writes, I have a lot of faith, but I'm also afraid a lot and have no real certainty about anything. I remember something Father Tom had told me, that the opposite of faith is not doubt, but certainty. Certainty is missing the point entirely. Faith includes noticing the mess, the emptiness and discomfort, and letting it be there until some light returns. And as always, Pastor Burtness has some questions to ponder. First, he asks, where and when is it okay to express your doubt about God or faith? I had an experience years ago. I was studying the Psalms at seminary. It was being taught by a Roman Catholic priest, and I remember going to visit with him. We didn't have tests. We would just have these oral conversations, and he could know whether you had read things or not. And in our conversation, it came up because up until that point, even at that point as a seminarian, it seemed like everything had to be positive. You couldn't have doubts. Everything was certain, and it wasn't. And I discovered the Psalms of Lament, where the psalm writer cries out to God with all kinds of doubt and struggles and frustrations. And those psalms remain among my most favored ones in the whole Psalter, that the psalmist felt free to be honest, brutally honest with God, and God listened, and God was there. Where have you experienced your own doubts? And when is it okay? And then he asked, what role, if any, does doubt play in your walk with Jesus? Some would probably say that they don't have doubts because they think it's inappropriate to admit as such. But I think we see here, and what Pastor Burtness is talking about, that doubt is very much a part of the walk of faith. And there's going to be those moments. There were for the disciples, and there will be for us as well. But Jesus is there even when we don't think he is. And it's okay to feel those feelings, even those feelings of doubt, because God is big enough to hear them and to help us to understand that it doesn't change anything. He is and always will be there with us. Let's close with prayer. Faithful God, I want to believe. Help me with my disbelief and doubt. By your Spirit, help me to know you, trust you, and grow in faith each day. Let me see you and experience your presence. This I pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, I hope you have a great start to your week. This is the special week for us as Christians, Holy Week. We'll be having Monday, Thursday, and Good Friday services online. They'll go live at 7 o'clock on Thursday and Friday evenings. And then, of course, on Sunday morning, we'll have our regular live streaming service at 9 a.m. And then, weather permitting, it's looking good right now, but we're still 6 days out. Weather permitting, we'll have an outdoor Easter service at 11 a.m. as well. And I'll keep reminding you of these as the week goes on. Until then, until tomorrow especially, take care. We'll talk to you then. Bye.